Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, and business strategist and author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 63 countries, such as the U.S., Canada, Sweden, Norway, even the Russians are listening, Belgium, Malaysia, New Zealand. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use this to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time right here, live on Blog Talk Radio. You can join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community. You can subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, Castbox, Google Play Music app, wherever you're comfortable listening to podcasts. I ask that you subscribe, rate, and please review the show. So on the show, I have entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, other podcasters, authors, amazing people who are elevating the lives around them. And my guest today does exactly that. So please help me welcome to the show, Drew Taddia. Taddia, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I get your last name right? Taddia?
You got it right. That's a common mistake, so I appreciate you got that right. I want to thank you for bringing me on, and I want to thank your audience as well. I'm super excited to be here today.
Dude, I'm super pumped, man. This is like a long time coming, and I love having other podcasters on the show because there's a little like back and forth that happens because we're so used to like answering questions and asking questions and everything. And then in the back of our mind, you know, when you're on the other side of the microphone, it's like, am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? Is that what they wanted? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's always like, well, on my show, I do it this way, on this show. So there's always like this dynamic that's created, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult being on the other side of the microphone, but when you have a good when you have a good host, you have a good conversation, everything flows the way it should go.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely. So for the listeners listening to the live broadcast, we are live, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can call into the show if you have any questions. The number is 657-383-1109. Again, the number 657-383-1109. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show or for myself, my team is standing by to field the calls and to bring you on air. So this episode is titled Exploring Mind and Body with Drew Taddia. Drew, at the age of 18, packed his bags and moved to California. Over the next 10 years, starting out at a junior college, Drew played at the university level, playing baseball, graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts before continuing on to travel the world as a professional baseball player. Eventually, Drew played in 4 countries, 2 continents, Australia and Germany. As a world-traveling professional baseball player, Drew understands how detrimental stress is on the body, which is why he now specializes in helping others learn to reduce stress. He does this through nutrition, exercise, and environment. Drew has had the opportunity to speak in front of countless audiences, helping them improve their health. He hosts a successful holistic radio show that is syndicated across Canada, Exploring Mind and Body. Name of the show, Exploring Mind and Body, which is also a podcast that plays around the world. Drew wrote a best-selling book called Detoxify Yourself. He hosts monthly workshops around preparing food, reducing stress, and being active. He runs an online nutrition and fitness membership site where members are provided with weekly at-home video workouts, a weekly meal plan with recipes, and grocery shopping lists with online support. The product that Drew is most proud of is called Complete Truth Protein. This is a plant-based protein supplement made with quinoa and hemp seeds. The product's main mission is to show people that food is the answer to our health. Complete Truth Protein improves your health and helps clean up the ingredients you put in your body by a food product in its whole form. After selling in over 26 retail stores across Canada, he now features the product as an online product, which includes local independent distributors. If you want more information, go to trueformlife.com. You can also check out the show at Exploring Mind and Body, exploringmindandbody.com. So, dude, after reading all of that, you're a freaking badass, man.
Yeah, you know, when you're in it, when you're reading that, I'm like, whoa, did I do that? but I mean, right. You know, when you're in it, you're on the grind, you don't really know what's going on. You're just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
Right. Yeah, man, definitely. So the first question that I always ask, well, before I do that, let's do this. Where can people find your show? For those listening right now, where can people find your show? How do they listen?
We're all over podcasts, so they can basically type in any type of podcasting platform, and we're there. And our main website is exploringmindandbody.com. That's where all past shows can be found as well. We also have a free app on any Apple device, so if you're an app fan, you can download the app if you have an Apple device, and then you can take our show with you wherever you go.
There you go, man. I love it. So the first question I always ask the guests on the show, and I believe it's the most important question you could ever ask yourself, is why? Why be a baseball player, which I love baseball? Why be a baseball player? Why go into the podcasting industry and choose holistic health and nutrition and fitness and everything that you do now? Like, what is your deep why for what you do?
Sean, I think we all have this deep meaning that we need to accomplish in this world. I think that's why we're here, and it's no different for me. And we notice that when you have those different individuals that make tons of money and they're in a job that has no meaning to them, and they're really at a loss for what direction to go in life. I was pretty fortunate to be able to start early out and be like, this is what I want to do with my life. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to help people. Early on, as I was growing up, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. And that was something where I thought that I could reach more people in different ways. And I always thought that entertaining and inspiration or motivation would be something that's of importance for people living their lifestyle. So that's the direction I decided to go. And this kind of naturally progressed from one step to another. I grew up in Canada. I didn't have it. We played 16 games in a full season. I went to junior college in Northern California. They played 40-some games in a preseason. And so for me, I was like, what am I doing? Should I be here? You know, I was over my head, and it just wasn't good enough for me to be like, I can't handle this. I'm not good enough. So I taught myself about nutrition. I taught myself about fitness. And I needed to, that why really carried me forward. And I felt like from a young age, I was supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be here, and I want to help people in different ways. And that's how it really began, moving from collegiate ball to professional and traveling the world as a professional athlete.
I love it, man. Dude, I mean, I remember growing up in Detroit, going to Detroit Tiger Stadium, and, you know, it's just, that's how my family was, man. You played Little League. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't, big into football. I mean, it was hockey and baseball. Baseball was life in my family. You know, my grandfather's the big, old Detroit Tigers fan, Al Kaline and, Sparky Anderson and all those guys. And it's just, we that's what we did, man. Sunday afternoon was baseball. During the spring, summer, fall, it was nothing but baseball. You played Little League, So I got a soft spot already for you, Who's your favorite team? You still follow it? Like, who's your favorite team?
Well, I mean, I grew up watching the Toronto Blue Jays. We had when I was growing up, we had the Blue Jays and we had the Montreal Expos. Those are the only two Canadian teams that we had.
That's right. You had the Expos.
What's that?
I said, that's right. You guys had the Expos. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Of course, they're not around anymore, but we had the Expos. They're actually pretty good. And then same with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, when I was very little, they won the World Series back to back. So of course, who didn't want to be Joe Carter hitting a home run to win the World Series? Whether you grew up in Canada or not, if you love baseball, that was a dream of yours. So I always have a deep love for the Toronto Blue Jays. They don't compete too well at this time in my life, but also I'm in Los Angeles right now. I spend a lot of time, a lot of time out of the year here, and I love going to Dodger games. We just went to a game yesterday there in the postseason, and I love the atmosphere. Love the Dodger fans. They're diehard, so I definitely have an enjoyment or a soft spot for the LA Dodgers as well.
Right on, man, dude. The NLCS, man, is looking pretty good, man. It's gonna be a pretty good matchup come championship game time. So, yeah, man. So, what is a transformational moment that has changed your life, that has put you on the path to what you're doing now?
I suppose early on when I was still playing professional ball, traveling around. We had small stints of off season, and I took a break. I actually just went back to Canada, and I needed to find a job. I always tell people that they paid us enough to keep us hungry at the level I was at, and I need to get a job because I had to pay the bills. So I started to do some personal training. I ran some fitness classes for a short amount of time at that time. And then everyone told me you need to be on the radio, you need to be in the newspapers to advertise your business, because people listen to the radio around here and people listen to or read the local newspaper. So I went into the local radio station, and I'm an introvert at heart, and I didn't really talk to many people other than, that might sound surprising from where I'm at now, but I didn't really talk to anyone. I had a few, I talked to my teammates, we talked to some coaching staff, but you have your close-knit teams, and that's who you traveled with, that's who you played with. You didn't really step outside of your comfort zone other than you played your sport. That was life. So I went into this radio station. I said, I got this great idea. I'd love to trade you my expert tips for airtime. And they said, sorry, son, that's not how it works. You have to pay for airtime around here. So that was kind of my first reality check about how the outside world works, especially on radio. So I went back and I asked them again in a different way. Can you find a different way to get me on? How about a minute? Or how about 3 minutes? How about a minute? I'll take 30 seconds. And finally he says, he brought me into the office, my producer for years now, and he said that, all right, we got this idea. We'll give you a show for 15 minutes, and you have to go and find sponsors to be able to afford the airtime. Because I told him, I said, I don't want to pay for it. I don't have any money. I need to trade you. So he explained how it worked, and that's what I did. It was super challenging for me. It was my first kind of entrepreneurial experience, going to knock on doors of business owners. I didn't even have a show. I just had an idea. And I was like, I got to make this work. I got to make this happen. I'm excited. I want to be on the radio. So I started knocking on doors, and it just sort of was rejection after rejection. Most of us know what it's like living in the entrepreneurial world. And
right.
I finally got enough people to agree to be able to afford airtime. And those are my sponsors. So we started off with a 15-minute show. That was a real turning point in my life. After 100 shows, well, the show slowly got longer and longer. It got to about 30 minutes, and then that's where we kept it. And from there, I syndicated. We're on 7 different stations across Canada. After 100 shows, I started syndicating, started reaching out to new stations, and then I started to put on a podcast as well. So we reached people all over the world. But that was definitely a turning point in my life.
Wow, man. And, I love the journey behind the scenes, because all we see on social media and, all we see on these different places and formats and stuff is like, oh, they're just an overnight success and he's just like super successful. Like, how did that happen? And, but you don't realize really what it took for this person to be able to do what they did. And so that's why I love this show, not only as a host, but really as a fan as well, because I get to peel the layers back, and I think it's important for people to realize, especially in the podcast world, like there's no overnight success. It's just not going to happen. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes, marketing and learning and, just a whole bunch of things to actually get your show to be successful. It's not like I have a show now the whole world listens. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't quite work out that way. I wish.
I think a lot. Sorry, I was just gonna say I think a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, that's the mindset. Like we see it many times in our local town. Like a lot of people open up businesses and they think that just because they open a brick and mortar or because they put a sign up, people are gonna come. But just like you're talking about with the podcast industry, with the radio, like I've never called one station one time and been like, can I get on? I don't even know what the average was. I probably call them 25 times before anyone says yes. And for those that overnight success, I don't think it happens. I really don't. I think if it does happen, we don't know what happens behind the scenes or all the steps it took to get to be that overnight success.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And honestly, we'll probably never know. But I'm kind of like Gary Vee, man. I kind of love the struggle. Like I love and maybe it's just the military in me, and maybe it's just the way that I was raised. But it's the satisfaction of like you're not gonna hold me back. Like I'm gonna do this type of thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I love the fight. And learning things like like repurpose. For my show, I started to use like repurpose, and I start to use, like headliner, and like I find all these cool little social media things, and I'm like, cool, you know what I mean? Like, let's do this, So I get excited, man, when I'm learning these new things. I start to get like excited, So that's just me, anyways. Some guys they don't like that stuff. I love it. So I don't know. I'm just weird, I guess.
I think you have to love it. I think part of you has to love some of it. Like we're a bit crazy here. Like I think people are like, you live this lavish life, you book your own hours, and you get to do what you want. You travel when you want. I mean, we're pretty fortunate to the level we're at. I'm 7 years in business now, but some days are still a struggle. Like I don't like rejection. Like I called this radio station the other day, and they said no. I've been trying to get a hold of them for years. For a year, like a whole year of calling and emailing, and they finally said no. But I mean, that's challenging. Wow. But I think you have to love parts of it. And if you don't, you're in the wrong business. Like go work for someone else. But you got to enjoy some
100%.
part of the struggle.
Yeah, man. Oh, absolutely. 100%, man. People look at what we do, and they're like, man, like, I want to do that. I want to do, like, how do you do it? You're like, how much time you got? Like, like, man, because there's so many things we could tell them, like, oh, and then 3 years ago this happened, and then 5 years, and I followed up with people so many times. I followed up with people, and then I get the no, and then you're like, God, like, what do I have to do? Like, I get a bunch of yeses, and I get some no's, and that no stings, man. It just kind of sucks. You pick yourself up, you're like, okay, on to the next one. I've had people call me up or email me years later and go, hey, you applied or you contacted us or something happened. It was a no then. We love what you're doing. We should do work together. We should get together. We should, come speak on the stage or come, whatever. I've had that happen a couple times. Well, your branding wasn't right, but now you look legit. I got that one time. Like, well, you look legit now. Before I don't know what you were. You look legit now. I'm like, ouch. Like,
yeah, what I looked like before.
Right. So how do you combat that, man? Like, what do you tell people? Like, is it going to be okay? Like, what do you tell people that get those no's, but they got a lot of yeses, but that no just knocks them down?
Yeah, I think it's got to be big enough for that one yes to be exciting. For example, I got the opportunity to be on TV about 3 years ago. I was on the local news. I just published my book, and everyone was excited about it. So I did some book signings, and I was on the local news, and it was a huge success. It went crazy on social media. It's probably one of my biggest successes, I suppose. And then for a few years later, I tried a couple times to get back on, and you get rejection after rejection, or maybe what's even worse is they don't even answer you. And then I just got an email the other day, and it was like, I talk about detoxing and stress a lot. So they said, we'd love to have you back on. in the new year. So I'm like, oh my, and how many hundreds of no's? So here, get this.
Right.
This is the crazy entrepreneur world that we live in. So I got all these no's for years. They finally bring me back on, and I'm all excited. So I start emailing and calling all the other news stations around, and every single one of them say no or don't answer me. So I'm like, we're crazy. We've got to be a bit crazy to be like, instead of just being happy with going on TV, it's like I got to have more rejection in my life.
Right? You're like, well, maybe they'll say yes because this one show got me on. So maybe they'll say yes because they see, and then they're like, that's still no crap. Yeah,
yeah,
that's funny.
That's what's up. But if we're talking to entrepreneurs, I got to say, like, the no's have got to be worth the one yes. So if you deal with 100 no's and you finally get a yes, it's got to be exciting. It's got to be worth the other ones. If you're kind of treading at the bottom, and we all do it, it's our own personal feelings that hold us back, or what we feel about ourselves, or what we think about ourselves. But if you don't raise yourself up high enough to make those no's worth that one yes, then you're kind of in the wrong position, I think.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well said. So going forward with the baseball career, and then you got into what you're doing now, how are you taking those transformational moments and your why, combining them together to elevate the lives around you?
Well, I'm fortunate enough so I traveled for about 10 years. I traveled all over the U.S., all over Canada, Australia, Germany. I had some really great stories. I have some experiences that I want to share with other people. So the world that I lived in was incredibly stressful. You could get called up to a position. I remember I went to Texas. I was in California. I've tried out in a league there. And they called me over and they said, we need you here in a couple of days. So I pack up my stuff. I drive across the country, and all I have is a baseball bag and one bag with my clothes. So I drive 30 hours, and I thought I was on the team. And they're like, oh, it's actually a tryout. I was like, what do you mean tryout? So they invited 10 other people for one position. And I was like, this is insane. And this was my first professional contract that I ended up signing. And I didn't know what the deal was. And they had all these guys they were bigger than I was. They looked like they were stronger than me. They had more experience than me. And I was like, what am I doing here? I was like, this was such a mistake. So that night when I met them, I went to the gym. I'm not joking. I looked at these guys and I was like, I went straight to the gym and I started working out. And I regularly work out, but I was like, oh my gosh, I need every edge I could get. So I went to the gym. We ended up trying out. And it was an incredible experience. But I mean, that's what I was dealing with. And I finally made the team. I made it through spring training. I made the team. And then they bring in guys. And they don't bring in guys just to scare you. Like, they bring in guys from other levels, and it's usually higher levels up. So they'll bring someone down at your level that has more experience. And maybe they have someone that's played professionally before. Maybe they have a family member that's affiliated. And trust me when I say that all plays into the effect. You could have someone that's as good as you, and if they have a family member that was affiliated, they'll take that person because it looks better on paper, and they're trying to sell tickets. So that's something that I dealt with. It was a very stressful lifestyle. We lived out of buses. We drove across the country in one phone call. We had tons of competition, and if you got hurt or injured, they're not going to pay you to rehab. They'll just take you out and put someone else in. And it happened all the time. People would lose their job, and they never get a job again. They never get to play again. So it's a very stressful lifestyle.
Wow.
And from what I've learned and from the years I've traveled and experienced that, now I teach other people. Like, I didn't realize how stressful it was until I stepped out of it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, life doesn't have to be this stressful. And that's what I teach other people. Like, we're highly stressed out in our work environment. Our boss, our coworkers stress us out. Sometimes our family stresses us out. And if we don't do things to reduce the stress in our lives, we're just always stressed out, and we don't have that enjoyment of life that I want to teach people.
Right. Yeah, 100%, man. I teach resilience skills, and the domains that we play in is the mental, physical, social, emotional, spiritual resilience domains. And what I know from teaching physical resilience, and so I have a little bit of of knowledge in this area. So it'll make an interesting conversation. And one of the things that we talk about in this physical resilience class is how important sleep is. And the tenets inside of the domain of physical resilience is strength, endurance, nutrition. And we literally talk about like your buying habits of food. Like, do you shop in the middle of the store? Do you shop on the outside of the store? Do you shop in the organic section? Like do you buy things on cost? Do you buy things on familiarity? Do you read the labels? And there's little quotes and stuff all packed in there. Like, people who read the labels are X amount of pounds lighter, or they're, healthier than, people who don't, or whatever, And then we talk about what high fructose corn syrup is. And we talk about the applesauce versus the apple, or we talk about, there's different things that we talk about, but what are some things and tips that you give somebody about nutrition and telling them that food is actually the answer to our health?
Yeah, I love that that's what you talk about, Sean. Like, that's something that we need to pay attention to. And I suppose the first thing I try to get across is that the stress levels that we're at are controlled by food, by our environment, and by our activity level. More specifically here, you're talking about ingredients, and that's something that we specialize in. We have to start reading ingredients. A lot of times people will read the nutritional value. They'll count calories. They'll look at how much protein. Usually most people are obsessed with one macronutrient if they're paying attention to food at all. So sometimes they're like, oh, I can't eat too many carbs. Or they're like, I need more protein in our diet. Or I can't have those fats. You know what I mean? So most people are obsessed with one macronutrient. And we try to help them understand that we need to start reading ingredients. Stop looking at the calories and stop paying attention to how much protein are in it, for example, because it could be the worst source of protein possible. It could be a protein source that your body isn't able to break down and turn into energy. So these are the things that we teach and help people understand, that we need to read ingredients. We need to pay attention to what we're putting in our body, because ultimately that makes all the difference, not those numbers on the package. And those numbers, trust me when I tell you that those numbers are manipulated so people see, 100 calories. They don't notice when it says, 100 calories is 3 chips. Well, who's going to eat 3 chips? You're going to eat the whole bag.
Right.
Or you're going to eat 25 of them. So you're sitting there on 500 calories, not 100. But that's what the grocery industry is built around, is around deception and shelf life. So they put in all types of highly toxic chemicals to keep it shelf stable forever. Because if it's not shelf stable, because if it expires, they lose money, and they're built around making money. They're a business. So we need to start paying attention to the ingredients that are in these products, which will reduce the stress in our life or increase our stress levels.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. One of the things that you said about the shelf life, and that's why MREs have like a 10-year shelf life. They're so packed full of like preservatives and everything, and really what you're eating is not. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that is in an MRE, just being in the military. I can tell you that an entire meal is about 2,000 calories. If our diet is based on a 2,000 calorie diet, 2,500 calorie diet, whatever, people who count calories, they're looking at an entire Little Caesars pizza as 2,500 calories. If you eat the whole pizza, you just ate your whole entire day's worth of calories. They're not even like great calories either. Like, you look at the Otis Spunkmeyer muffin, you're like, oh, that's cool, 400 calories in this little muffin. Like, holy crap. So I think it's important that you do look at the calories, but more importantly, what is it, right? Because we always talk about the saturated fats. We talk about, I'm not a nutritionist. I would love to take people by the hand and say, here's a nutritionist. Go talk to the people who actually know it, like you and everybody else who do this stuff. Like, I know a little bit of, to get around, but not enough to actually give sound advice. You know what I mean? So, just everybody listening, talk to Drew offline. Go to trueformlife.com. If you want to know more about nutrition, supplements, all that stuff, this is the guy to talk to. And it's trueformlife.com. supplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplementsuplemen because that's $1 billion business. You know, from what I know about supplements and what I teach inside of the physical resilience, there's an actual video that I play where these guys are making these supplements, but there's really no nutritional value in there. Like, nothing's regulated. They're like, well, we have to put this in there and have to put this in there, but it's billions of dollar market, you know. And apparently, in this video that I show them, you know, if you took everything away from GNC and you put the things on the shelves that are literally like, this does help, like this is the you need this, you'd have like 6 or 7 items. So what do you know about the supplement industry? Because I know that Complete Truth protein that you designed isn't like any other supplement, like creatines and, you know, all the stuff that will get you jacked up and whatever. Like, talk about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we believe in food. I think that's the easiest way to put it. We believe food heals, prevents, and cures. And if you look at food, like if we look at food substances and start paying attention to foods that are the ingredient instead of foods that have ingredients, it's much different. Like, you change your whole lifestyle. And I just feel like people don't get enough nutrients in their lives. Like, we need nutrients to heal our bodies. We need nutrients to burn body fat, to increase our metabolism. If we have an injury, we need food to heal. We need food for mental clarity. Like, maybe some of your listeners are entrepreneurs. Well, you need healthy fats. Your brain is made of fats, and we have cells that need to be replenished. If you're not replenishing them with healthy fats, then you're working on old news. That's old fats that your brain is trying to use to think clearly or to be inspired or to find motivation. Like, is unending what food does to our body. And when we look at conventional supplements, they're based around chemicals and they're based around preservatives so they can sit on the shelf. If you have a conventional type of protein powder, you can let it sit on the shelf for years and it will have the same value as when you bought it. And I've gone through it all. When I grew up, when I was playing, there was Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire. You know what I'm talking about, Sean?
Right.
This is the steroid era. And it was big news. That's where I grew up, and guys were sitting in the locker room sticking a needle in their butt because we all thought that the bigger you were, the more steroids that you pumped into your body, the better athlete that you're going to be. And it simply wasn't the case. I learned later on in my career that was actually holding me back. So I had a whole tackle box full of supplements. I had a tackle box full of supplements. I had a backpack full of protein powders, pre-workout, post-workout. I had everything. I didn't sleep well. I weighed I'm 5'10", almost 5'11". I weighed almost 220 pounds. I didn't move very well. I didn't sleep. And I thought that because I was this giant man of muscle, I was a better athlete because of the guys on TV. And it just wasn't true. I started to question. I started to ask questions. I started to read ingredients, and I was like, why is this same chemical they use in cement mixer in my protein supplement? Why is this same chemical they make glass out of in this protein supplement? And they combine chemicals is what they do. And our bodies don't recognize, utilize, or absorb chemicals. They don't turn them into energy. And way back when, Sean, we used to eat because we needed to eat to survive. We needed to eat to work on the farm, to make more food, to harvest our fields, and to pluck chickens. You know, like I didn't grow up on a farm, but I know that the way we used to eat is much different than we eat now. Now we eat for emotional purposes. We eat for taste, and we eat out of boredom. Those are the 3 main reasons we eat, instead of eating for energy or eating for vitalizing our life. And so to answer your question there, Sean, as a roundabout way of just saying that the conventional types of protein supplements are based around chemicals, and I was very much involved in that world, and I lived on them. And then I started to take them out of my diet, and I started to sleep better, and I started to run faster. My quick twitch muscles started to be quicker, and I started to realize, like, I don't need these supplements. I can heal my body with food. I can jump higher. I can run faster with good quality food supplements. And that's why I decided to design my own, because I thought that there was a hole in the industry. Like, I felt like we need food. So I looked at my clients, I looked at my family members when I started doing more personal training and fitness classes. And they said, what can I use for a protein supplement? And I was like, eat food. And
Yep.
we want the quick fix, or they want something a bit easier. So I said, okay. So I set out, and it was like a giant science experiment for months and months while I was trying to design my own protein supplement out of food, because we lack all the macronutrients that I felt we need. We need the 4 main macronutrients, and we don't usually get that in protein supplements. You usually get one. It's usually a protein isolate, and your protein isolate digests very quickly, and then you have nothing. Your body doesn't burn anything. It doesn't get the nutrients it needs. So that's why I designed Complete Truth Protein, to get all the macronutrients you need to nutritionize your body properly, to help you heal, and to help you whatever you need, to help you burn body fat, to help you think clear. Like, so the mostly that we hear from our customers is that they can't believe the energy they find, and they can't believe how good their digestion is starting to feel after they start using Complete Truth Protein.
Oh, wow. Right on, man. That's good.
And there's no secret. I wish I had like a secret for everyone. Like, I wish I had a secret ingredient, but it's not a secret ingredient. It's food. And once we start to put good quality foods in our body that are highly digestible, utilizable, and absorbable, we can turn that food into energy more easily. So when we can burn it off as body fat, we can use it as energy, and we're going to feel better all around. So that's why we go with whole food, and that's how this supplement really changes people's lives.
Perfect. Okay. I totally get that, man. That's awesome. Where can they find it if anybody's interested in learning more about that? Is that on the trueformlife.com website?
Yeah, they can go to trueformlife.com/complete truth protein. We have all kinds of details. You can bake with it. You can throw it in smoothies. It was kind of an accident for it to be a baking product. We have 2 different SKUs. One is for baking now. We thought that was going to be originally our smoothie supplement, and people started baking with it. Our customers started to send in recipes, and it works as a fantastic gluten-free flour. And then our other product is just for smoothies. So, and we have tons and tons of recipes. We base our business around showing people how to use it, creating our own recipes, and then helping people understand how to use it.
Perfect. Very cool, man. I like that. So as far as stress, we talked about stress and the way that it affects the body. There's eustress, which is great stress, which could be like having a kid or marriage or being like, I know that I turn the negativity of preparing to go on stage. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm like, oh my God, what if they don't like me? Like all that negativity that surrounds that. And as a speaker, I've learned to use it as excitement. Like, oh my gosh, I'm about to go out there, and like I use it as excitement. I use it as we're about to do this in a positive way. So distress would be the negative stress. Losing a job, being bankrupt, stuff like that. Talk about some ways that people can reduce stress.
Yeah. So when we talk about reducing stress, we look at 3 main ways. So we look at, I think I mentioned this earlier, that we look at the activity level through exercise or just simply being more active. We look at nutrition that we just talked about, putting better quality foods in your body and reading ingredients. And then we look at our environment. So when I talk about environment, I'm talking about like our workplace, our home place, the people that we surround ourselves with. So those are the 3 main factors when I talk about reducing stress. We did talk about nutrition. I should mention for activity level, the number 1 way to reduce stress is to exercise. And the funny thing is, the more busy we are, the more stressed out we are, the less we exercise, and that's the most important way to reduce stress. So it's kind of funny that we don't put those 2 together.
Perfect, man. I love it. So, what are some resources that maybe you have or that people can get to learn more about the nutrition and how to exercise, de-stress, right? So talk about that, man. What are some resources that are out there, maybe that you have for all that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do to reduce stress in your life. I think understanding what I'm talking about here, like paying attention to the food that we're putting in our body, that's a big one. Like understanding that and I think that we don't make that connection, that the food that you're putting in your body will put more stress on your life, puts more stress on your body, on your mind, physically, mentally, emotionally. So we need to start paying attention to what those foods we're putting in our body. And the other one is that we talked about just being more active, and you don't have to join a CrossFit class, or you don't have to swim in the ocean every day, or whatever it is that you might be fearful of. We just have to be more active and understand that we can reduce stress in our life by going out for a walk and getting fresh air, by going for a jog or doing a light workout, or if it suits you properly, if you'd rather do a tough, high-intensity workout, that's another way that can be enjoyable, and the ways you can reduce stress in your life. And the other one I want to mention here, Sean, is our environment. Another one that I don't think we realize how much that stresses us out, and that's what I mentioned when I was traveling and playing at a high level, the ability to reduce stress in their life and understand that the people around you could be stressing you out. So it could be your boss, for example. Your boss could be someone that doesn't really like you very much, or someone that you're always worried about because they're always yelling at you, or you're never doing a good job. That stresses you out. That affects your life in a negative manner. Then we have to look at our coworkers that we're surrounding ourselves with. So instead of those issues that you guys are dealing with that no one wants to talk about, find a way to talk about it. Find a way to sit down like grown-ups and have a conversation, so you don't have to worry about walking by them every time you go to your desk in the morning. And that's definitely going to make a difference in your life. And then at home as well. At home is no different. We need to pay attention to our stress levels at home. It could be a spouse that's not so supportive. It could be your kids. And again, it goes back to communication. And it's challenging these days to have regular conversations, but we don't. We simply don't have conversations. We sit at the dinner table, we sit on our phones. If we sit at the dinner table at all, or we sit in front of the TV.
Oh my gosh. I hate that.
Yeah, and you see it all the time. You see it at restaurants. We just took the bus to the Dodger game. Everyone was on their phone, and I was looking out the window, and I'm like, wow, we got some cool buildings around here. There's people sitting out. There's homeless people on the street that are doing different things. Like, there's so much to see, but our lives are so focused on our phones and what everyone else is doing instead of focusing on our own life. But that's another important, just paying attention to our stress levels at home as well, because you could change your life in a positive manner by having a conversation with your kids, by simply telling your spouse, like, I want to do this for myself. I want to start making healthier food decisions. Will you do this with me? Instead of just saying, like, this is what we're having, like it or not. It sounds
like we were raised.
Yeah, that's right. Eat your food, right? But I think that you can make...
Do this or you'll starve, like a Beauty and the Beast, like that's how my parents were. Like, you eat this or you starve. So
that's right. And we don't, it's not like that anymore. Kids, they get what they want. I think it's a whole different world to grow up in, and parents are afraid to be like, you don't have a choice. And I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that have a conversation instead of saying, like, eat that or eat nothing, or having an argument with your spouse and being like, I'm trying to make a healthy lifestyle. I'm trying to make changes in my life. Will you come along with me, or will you try this food instead of making everything a secret and then wondering why you're trying to hide things from them?
Yeah, no, it's true, man. So the whole phone thing, and like, oh my gosh, man. So my wife is always yelling at me, like, you're always on the phone and you're always on the computer. You're always okay. Yes. Not always, but yes. I have a business to run. I'm getting booked to speak. I'm getting radio shows together. I'm answering emails. Like this is stuff that I need to do. But there's a cutoff point. Nothing past like 8 o'clock or something like that. But the one thing that we always do is we have no electronics at the dinner table. Zero. No TV, no radio, no phones, nothing. It's just us at the dinner table. And I think that allows us to connect still, because I've been to some people's houses, and I've been to some dinners where people are literally like scrolling through their phone, eating, scrolling through their phone, I'm like, this is not fun. Like, I want to talk to people. I want to like have a conversation, So, usually we'll have some TV time, or, we'll watch a movie, at night after dinner, we'll watch a movie or whatever. Kids will go to bed, and then maybe I'll answer a couple more emails or whatever, and then it's done. I just put it away. At one point, it got to a point where we said, you know what, once the phone's on the charger, you don't touch it anymore. So once your phone's dead, that's it. You don't just put it on a charger and keep on going. You put it on the charger and you leave it alone. That's it. You're done. So that worked for a little bit until we became disciplined to regulate it.
So what do you mean by regulating it? You spent less time on it so it lasted longer?
That, or we just said, you know what, I'm done. It's 8:00. I'm done. Like, or you just finish. Okay, I'm going to send 2 or 3 emails. Get through this stuff. I have to send a contract over to this person. I got to do this one thing. I'll do this one thing. Okay, now I'm done. Like, I'm just done. So before it was, oh my gosh, my battery's dead. Whatever will I do? And now you're like, well, I've completed what I want to complete. I've sent my emails. I've done whatever I needed to do. It's like, it's 8:00 or whatever. Like, I don't need the phone no more. I'll just do it tomorrow. Because sometimes I can't put this off. It's got to get done. Just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, set the time. We'll get it done. So it just helped us regulate ourselves rather than staying in bed at 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. still on like social media or whatever. We're like, it's done. It's over. The phone's away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's probably one of the worst things you could do is have your phone next to you at bedtime. I mean, like those are the things, especially when we run mainly an online business, my wife and I, and we know that you have to put the phone down. You have to close the computer because if you don't, there's always something to do. You know what I'm talking about, Sean. There's always something to do.
Oh yeah.
So if you don't draw that line and say that, and we've done that too, and we say no phones at the dinner table. We're sitting down for lunch. There's no phones and there's no computers, and that's important. And we don't understand that continual technology stresses us out. And like if you never get a break, Like if you don't go for a walk, if you don't exercise, if you don't find ways to reduce stress, you're sitting there constantly being stressed out. And that goes back to putting the phone in the bedroom or checking. You go to the bed. You get up at 2 a.m. You're going to the bathroom and you check your phone. No, don't do that. Because then you get an email and someone's angry at you, or you figure out that you got 3 other things you forgot about that you didn't do, and your stress level goes through the roof.
Yeah, man. Like I know. Oh my God. I know so many people that as soon as they wake up, man, grab the phone. I'm on it. Like I can't do that. Like for me, like I'll grab the phone. I'm like, do I have any like emergency text messages that I missed in the middle of the night? Like someone freaking died or something? Like, do I have any like text messages, missed phone calls? I don't care about the emails or social media, but it's like, do I have any missed calls? Do I have any text messages? No. Put the phone down. I don't need it right now. I got to get ready for work. I got to do this. And, I got other things, make breakfast, whatever. So once I'm done with my morning routine, then, and it's like maybe 2 hours later, then I'll start looking at the phone and maybe shoot an email or, something like that. But yeah, I know people that straight away, as soon as they wake up, got the phone in their hand and they're already on social media. Like, today's going to be a great day. Get dressed.
Yeah, we're the same way. We go through our morning routine, and it's like religious, like clockwork. Every single morning we get up, we do the exact same thing. And once you're done your routine, you take care of yourself first. Then you have more to give. You have more time. You have more energy. You have more enthusiasm. Once you take care of yourself, and people think that's selfish, or they say, I don't have time for that, or I don't have the ability. You do. Trust me, you do. You just have to work that into your lifestyle, and then you'll have more of yourself by focusing on yourself.
Perfect, man. So as we start to close the show, how can people get a hold of you? How can they find your podcast? And what's your big nugget of knowledge for the listeners as we close the show?
So our main website is trueformlife.com. That has everything on there. That has the radio show. Our other website is exploringmindandbody.com. But if you go to trueformlife.com, that has our radio shows on there. That also has our Complete Truth protein supplement. And then we do meal planning, recipes, grocery shopping lists, at-home fitness routines. So that's all there. We're highly active on Facebook. That's our favorite type of platform. And that's facebook.com/trueformlife. So that's pretty much what we do, and how we can help people is contact us there or follow us on social media. Our radio show podcast is on, I'm pretty sure it's on every platform. If not, let me know and I'll put it on it. But I would just say that
how many platforms. I didn't even realize how many platforms my show was on. You know, like I'm like, oh, let me Google my show. I'm like, what is that? Like, oh, what is
right.
What is this? I didn't even know, like, what is that thing? And then I just ask people, right? I'm like, hey, Facebook, where do you find podcasts? How do you look at podcasts? I'm expecting, like, Stitcher, Spreaker, like, Castbox. And over Cast, I'm like, what the heck is that? I didn't even heard of that. I'm like, oh, my show's on it. I'm like, perfect. I didn't even know what it was. My show's already there. Perfect. I'm already set to go.
I know. I'm the same way. There's so many platforms. I don't even know where people find these platforms, but I guess we're both fortunate to be on all over. But
right.
if I would say to entrepreneurs, anyone listening, is to look at the stress levels in your life and just pay attention to the three areas that we focus on. That's environment, because many times we look at the stress levels, or we don't look at the stress levels in our life, and we don't understand or realize what's going on, or why we're stressed out, why we can't sleep, why our digestion's out of whack, why we have no energy. And most of those comes back to the stress levels in our lives. I'll even go as far as to say major dis-ease in our body comes from a tiny little cell of stress that grows and grows, and we never address it. And then it comes out on our body in some way. It could be an injury. I've seen it through sports. It could be medically. And I think that it really starts from those stress cells that we don't address. So that's what I would say. Look at those three levels.
True.
Be more active to reduce stress. Pay attention to the foods that we're putting in our body, and look at your environment.
There you go. Perfect, man. Dude, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been a lot of fun. I learned even more. I can take that back to my resilience seminars, and I can even plug your website and be like, hey, if you guys want to know about this stuff, you know, and now I have some things to bring to my network and get people plugged into you, man. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast, Sean. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Thank you to your audience for tuning in and listening. And I'd love to stay connected and stay in touch.
Love it, man. Yeah, absolutely. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest elevating lives in the best way possible, reducing stress, and those three things that he has been talking about this entire time. You got to get with the nutrition, you got to get with the exercise, and check your environment. So go to trueformlife.com and then look at and listen to his radio show, Exploring Mind and Body. Go to exploringmindandbody.com. So as I close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Woo!
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.